Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for signing in for our webinar today. My name is Devang, and I'm the Chief Technology and Product Officer here at KredX. We are in the month of January, and that means one thing for finance professionals everywhere. The year-end close is nearing. The critical process details how much a company spent in the last fiscal year and impacts its budget in the coming one. The processes have changed over the years, and today we have with us an influential CFO who has seen corporate finance and the year-end close evolve over the decades. Mr. Raghupati Mishra is the President and Country Chief Financial Officer, Liberty House Group India. He is a seasoned business leader with progressive experience of 25 plus years, including various aspects of strategy, operations, turnarounds, fundraising, governance, and stakeholder management. Credited with fundraising and debt restructuring of over $2 billion, he was also named CFO of the year 2023 at the second Next Gen CFO Award. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you for the glowing welcome that you said. I may not deserve that, but thank you for that. Right. Yeah, please.
The topic for today, as you all might know, is Mastering Year-End Finances, a 360-degree guide on book closure, receivables management, best practices, and more. So without further ado, I think we'll drop right into the weeds of what are some of the best practices for and guides on book closure and excellence in account receivables. So, you've been in a finance professional for more than 25 years and worked in different kinds of companies, different sectors, different geographies. So what are the challenges involved in year-end book closing that you've observed?
See, the book closure at year-end, let's say take it cutoff of 31st March. So from 1st April to 31st March is the financial year.
Right.
So as on 31st March, the book closure means what, to the layman's term, what we understand is that as on this date, what are the assets the company or the organization has, what are the liability are there. So there is a balance sheet. Where do we stand as an organization? These are our assets, these are our liabilities, this is the fund we owe to somebody, this is something they owe to us. And then what we have made in this year, what is the kind of revenue we have earned, what is the kind of expenses we have incurred, and what is the profit or loss we have made. So to quantify all these things, this is called the finalization of books of accounts and preparation of financial statements. So this is in short called as book closure. So the challenges lies in that exact, and this is not an estimation kind thing. Accounting is not about estimation. Accounting is accuracy. So let's say it's a service organization. So what kind of services we have already provided till 31st of March? See, all the organizations go on, irrespective of whether you are closing your books or not, the business will go on. But you need to quantify as on 31st March if you have already provided services partially or fully or whatever, but you have not billed. You have to quantify that this much of services I have provided already to these organizations and I need to receive amount from them. So is the case that you have already incurred expenses, but you have not received an invoice for that. So expenses incurred but not recorded. Same thing goes to income part, same thing goes to expenses part. Then if you are a manufacturing organizations, what are the stocks, inventory, what are the inventory, whether it is a work in progress, whether it is raw material or work in progress, some material will be at some semi-finished stage, or some material which is finished, some material which is in transit. Actual quantification of these inventories as on the last working day of the year is what needs. So this is also challenging. Anything will be in railway wagon, something will be in truck, something where, because the guy, if you are purchasing a raw material, they have said that the material has gone from there, so but you have not yet received it. So goods in transit, etc. All these things need to be accurately made. Then the assets that you have, the assets due to wear and tear and afflux of time, you have there is erosion in the value of the asset. So what kind of erosion has happened? Whether it is a depreciation that is as per the application or more has happened. So all these things you need to quantify. So these are exactly the challenges. And if in a large organization having so many departments, so many locations and all, it's kind of difficult to get all these things accurately. These are the challenges that we face normally.
Okay, that is it. And so, what would you think are the strategies that can be employed for navigating the book closures seamlessly?
See, it, it's an easier thing actually if you are proactive.
Okay.
So let's say 31st March is the closing date. So you have to start all these activities from January itself. Like you have many of your customers are there. You have sold them goods or provided them services. You have given them invoices, but the amount has not yet come. Similarly, you have either procured material or availed services. Invoices has not yet come or has come. Some has lost. Some is there is a dispute in that. So you need to have reconciliation of these. So if you are going for 31st March, 31st of March closing, till 31st December, you do a hard closing with these people and have a reconciliation of at least the top customers and the top vendors, top 50 both sides. So that will ensure that 90% of your customers and vendors are reconciled. Till 31st December, you have reconciled. Then you have a few invoices only left for these 3 months that will actually happen, right? So then in this way, all the transactions happen between these. Either you are selling or purchasing, right? Similarly, with your inventories and all, if you are, it's a large organization, say 1,000 of crores of inventory. So you take different inventories from 31st December. Some you quantify physical verification of that on a sample basis. What kind of sampling and all. If you're proactive in doing that, then you understand where it is. So it is very easy when you do the 31st March. It will be most accurately you can close the books. Similarly with assets and all, whether impairment happened and all, if you have an assessment with the right people that where it stands and all. So this is what are the things. The proactiveness is the key. Then engaging with people, in different people, they have to see that what are the expenses they are incurring. They are availing the services or they are trying to order. So all these things you need to discuss with different departmental heads in different departments. Account department has to be proactive in this, in getting what services they are availed, or in the next 1 to 2 months they are going to avail, so that the right kind of provisions could be made. So this way we handle. Same thing with bank reconciliation and all. You should have your bank reconciliation or your other investments in different mutual funds, different other instruments and all. So you should have bank confirmations and all, written confirmation. So all these things you need to be proactive. You need to prepare mails and letters that need to be given physically to banks. Also, sometimes they insist on the prepare that, give them all the right, because you have to get this finalization done, and also it needs to get auditable also. Auditors has to also certify that these are proper. There should not be any hanky panky, that should be above board everywhere. So they will do an independent audit of all these things. So all these documents need to be there so that they are auditable, verifiable, that is.
Right. And on this proactiveness, would you suggest a specific frequency? So you mentioned like by 31st March, companies should try to do this, but like on a monthly basis or quarterly basis or uh, half yearly, like is there a recommended frequency uh, at which you should keep reconciling?
See, banks has to be reconciled every month. Fund,
Mhm.
you cannot let it go. And now there are not much reconcilable items because you are making payments electronically, right? Some payment like bank charges, etc. Bank will debit. You will get a statement every month. You make those entries. So bank reconciliation is not a big deal nowadays.
Mhm.
Otherwise, when the checks were issued, not presented, checks as received, but given to bank, but amount not credited, those days are gone now. Everything is electronic fund transfer. So
Mhm.
every month you need to do a book closing, ideally. You need to take provisions. Physical verification and the quantum of that depends upon the kind of governance mechanism you have, the kind of processes you have set in, and the volume of the transaction. So
Mhm.
that should be done at least quarterly basis.
Okay. Um, the other question is on compliance. So you mentioned audit and books should be auditable. What is the like if you can double click on that? So what is the significance of ensuring legal compliance in on the year-end finances and book closure?
See, legal compliance means basically statutory compliances. India has a plethora of laws which is applicable to business. Let's say there is a company, so it is governed by the Companies Act.
Mhm.
So as per Companies Act, there are quite a few provisions that you need to do. Like you have to get your books finalized, you have to get it audited, a statutory auditor who has the requisite authority and requisite this thing can only audit. He will give it a board report. The board and the annual general meeting, the shareholders will approve that. So these are the requirements of Company Act. So for Income Tax Act is there, you have to deposit TDS, you deduct TDS, deposit it within the 7th of the next month, you have to file a TDS return quarterly. Same thing with GST, plethora of forms are there. Every month, every quarter, you need to form GST to be, etc., etc. Quite a few forms. Same thing with your Provident Fund, your ESI, your professional tax. The list is quite long. If you have other this thing, FEMA rules are there for any transaction, offshoot transactions and all. So you need to have a compliance checklist with you. Every month, that calendar of checklist has to be there with the calendar this thing that of by this date of this month you need to do this. So one need to be again proactive in closing those activities so that there is no non-compliance as such. People has to be responsible that this person is responsible for doing this.
Right.
It is not that things are falling between the tombs.
Mhm.
Right. So that's how you need to ensure that compliance is there. Compliance is extremely important with the enhanced governance mechanism and the non-tolerance of the government of the day of non-compliances. It is extremely important that as an organization we comply with all regulations which is currently applicable to the company or the organization.
Got it. Okay. So, changing gears a little bit and talking about best practices in receivables management. So, in what ways do you think can account receivable excellence be elevated and achieved?
See, I can give you a practical example. I was with HCL Technologies, right? And we are doing IT infra. IT infra. This is the early 2000s, right? So we are doing IT infra. IT was the new flavor of the season, and everyone was getting into IT and all. Because there is no IT infrastructure before that, but IT nobody knew that computers had started coming in, internet had started and all. We were doing for Steel Authority of India, we are doing National Informatics Center, we are doing for different organizations like Army, we were doing for this Ministry of Environment, the IMD, Meteorological India, Meteorological Department, all the government departments and all. So the total IT, we were managing them on a turnkey basis. The total IT, we were doing the infrastructure and then also providing the services. And we were also supplying them skilled manpower, right? So to ensure that in government organizations, what happens is that takes time to get money. So this was one of the project given to me when it was 137 days was the days sales outstanding.
Okay.
137 दिन लगता था पैसे आने में on an average. So I was given this task to lower that. So what I saw, because 90% our revenue is coming from government organizations, when I met them and all, I understood that we have what is required is that we need to understand each of their invoice processing mechanism. Every organization has a different set of mechanism. Like in Steel Authority of India, they would like you to be given 4 invoices along with their purchase orders, along with their this thing, that thing, with a file. We were preparing a file for that with signature of their this thing, signature, rubber stamp, round stamp, and all. So you need to map the processes. Here, your customer, you have to do what they will say. So you need to map it. So I was having a diagram of this sort, that where need to invoice and what are the requirements there, how it is required and all. I made documents for each of them. That's number one. Number two, in government organization, you have to go desk to desk.
Right.
So from here you have prepared, you have given, you have to go 3 times there, that please process this and give it to your next desk. Then go to the next desk and go the what is their lagging. So you sit with them. They will not do on their own. You have to prod them. You will sit with them. Then they will do that for some time. In a whole 8 hours, they will maybe work for 1 or 2 hours. So you have to be present there to get that invoice process. So each of these desks need to be cleared, then only it will go. Second thing is that there is a lot of 80-90% of this thing which I gathered from experience is that there is no reconciliation. We have not done reconciliation. They have said material has been given, there is an invoice, they have received it, but we have received the bill, but it is in somebody's drawer. That guy has gone for a leave. So this is, and he has not put it for approval. So you need to again resubmit the invoices, again do that. So reconciliation is a must on this. To get your this thing, that what they have recorded in their books and what you have given. At the same time, we are doing with IBM. They say they were giving invoice, they were given a purchase order. With that, you need to raise an invoice and upload it in their system. In 45 days time, your bank account will be credited. It will not be 46th days.
Okay.
This is what IBM was doing. And this is what this is. So the different customers, a different kind of processing mechanism, and who are the person responsible for that, and how they would prefer to clear that. So the Holi, Diwali, etc., you have to be kind of be amenable to that. Right. So this is what is receivable management. That if you do all of this, and from your own side of your own side, what you need to do, whatever material you have supplied or services you have provided, immediately you raise an invoice and get the person signed in that who has availed the services or got the material. The goods received note, etc. will be there. Immediately raise that and be consistently persistent. Then only you will get your realize. And to tell you, 1 year I was doing that project as an extra work. From 137 days, I reduced it to 65 days.
Wow.
Less than half.
Mhm. Wow, that's great. Nice. So, so extending on the account receivables, so what other measures or what measures can be taken to improve cash flow management of a company?
See, cash flow management is not entirely dependent upon accounts receivable, even if it's one of it.
Mhm.
Uh, Ideally, the days sales outstanding should be the less.
Mhm.
The top management, or at least the CFO, should also interact with top customers. That why the invoice is pending and all, have a repo with them. And if some cash flows are required, even if it is a 45 days, let's say, if the CFO calls the other CFO, यार 45 days तो है, मुझे 30 दिन में चाहिए, तो वो दे देगा, कोई इशू नहीं है, मैं ऐसा करता हूँ.
Okay.
अब मेरे से भी लोग फोन करते हैं, मैं देता हूँ पैसे. So this how it happens. So the issue is have a repo with the people, at least of your 100 or 50 or 25 customers, where your bulk of the billings are happening,
Mhm.
and have a mechanism where you can get the realization done. And when the top people are talking, there is no nuisance value created in the system, like reconciliation, etc. It will automatically happen.
Mhm.
People at the ground will do that automatically. That's how it happens. I'm talking about large organizations, so that's how it happens. Then the organization needs also funds from lenders. We take funds from bankers and all. So we should have arrangement before that. These are the requirements for our working capital, or this is for our long term, like we are preparing some assets and all for capex, etc. So we should have ready-made funds available with us, sanctioned, and need to be drawn down. So all of these should be uh, beforehand. We should have, as per the calendar of the requirements of funds, whether it is capex or opex, we should be ready with that
Mhm.
and have certain amount as a buffer. The CFO need to have a CFO kitty with him for catering to SOS kind of or increased demand and all. Sometimes the organization might say that I need to have a new marketing intervention and I
Mhm.
need fund like this, which was not budgeted earlier. You
Mhm.
can't say it is not in the budget, so come next year. You have to cater to the market. You have to have the nimble footedness to respond to your competition. So that time the CFO's this thing, the fund, that the kitty that he has with him will work, and then he will also do certain work like to the vendors. You have committed that you will pay on 30th day or 45 days. You speak to certain vendors, say that I'll get another 30 days. Please give me 30 days. I'll pay you 50% of it, 50% I'll pay in next 30 days.
Mhm.
So if you have certain exigencies are there, so please bear with us. And if you are true to your word, nobody will say no. So everybody helps. This is how it happens.
Mhm.
So this is the way you manage cash. But the first thing before the year starts, you need to have a total forecast of the cash, what is required and all, according to, and that has to vary with the business plan. If the business plan is this, and as per that, the robust cash flow has to be there, not what the salespeople promises.
Mhm.
So that application of mine need to be done by CFO. What the business has provided, you need to discount a few of them that this cash flow will come, and you be prepared with that.
Mhm.
That's how it happens.
And so you also have, like a lot of experience in fundraising, debt restructuring. So is there any impact of, financing on year-end book closure?
Financing on year-end book closure, I can't say in what sense that could be. Because some of the fundraising depends upon what kind of what kind of P&L you are giving at the balance sheet, what is your net worth and all. So if some talks are going on, you might provide some provisional balance sheet signed by the auditor, not the audit report. So that are certain shortcuts that we do.
Okay. And how can risks be mitigated and transparency ensured in the year-end financial processes?
See, risks are in terms of risk is a continuous process. It doesn't wait for the year end to happen. Risk will come any day. Right. So, as per the risk, the normal process is everybody knows that you have to identify the risk, which has not even shown it. It may come. तो आपको सूंघना पड़ेगा क्या आ सकता है. यूक्रेन रशिया वॉर हुआ तो आपके साथ क्या प्रॉब्लम आ सकती है आपको देखना पड़ेगा. आप नहीं कह सकते हो तो 4,000 किलोमीटर दूर है मैं तो यहाँ हूँ कोई दिक्कत नहीं है जी मैं वेरी. So you have to see what kind of materials you are importing, what kind of sales you are making to which countries, and how they are dependent upon those countries, these two countries. How will the shipping lines will do, from where it will come. If it is a diversion of the shipping line, though it was taking 60 days to come, now it will take 90 days. Like these, all of these you need to estimate and identify the risks that might come and hit the business and the country and the general environment. Then assessment of the risk. What are the assessment? How much will it impact you? Right. And quantify it. Quantification of risk. That if this happens, then I will be hit by this, my turnover will be this, or my expenses on procurement of material will be increased in 10%, 5%, 7%, like this. Quantify. Then when you have identified, when you have assessed the risk, how much it will go, assessment of risk is what makes it good, till when it will be there. And quantification is putting that into a financial amount. Then you will mitigate that have alternative sourcing mechanism in place. You have to also the forex fluctuations will have, so we will take some covers and all. So this is how mitigation happens.
So how do you ensure कि the example that you gave, like Ukraine Russia war chal raha hai, right? So there are all kinds of things which are happening in the world. Like let's say in the morning when you're reading the newspaper, there are 10, like there are all these items. So are you constantly thinking, acha, like this news item, how is it going to impact, do the assessment? Like so at what, because इस type से तो then it like the mind will always keep running कि अरे ये risk है, ये risk है, ये risk है. So how do you distinguish between what are the important things and what is noise in everything that is coming to you?
See that you get trained with that. Over the years with your experience, you get trained with that. And like if you see every day also many life-changing situation doesn't happen. Like Iran and Pakistan has sent missiles to each other's category and all is not happening daily. This is something which happened in the last 72 to 96 hours. So you need to see how this area will be, because if you are going through that Gulf and all, your ships are coming and the materials are coming there, what can happen? Could this be a full-scale war? Or it will go to certain extent, how the risk will be there. So this is how you see. Otherwise, like any other kind of event that is happening, that will not impact so much. But this is quite right in your face. You can see that. But plus newspapers, the risk advisors, etc. All of these have news and the advisors, and then when it is relevant to you and your organization and the kind of business that you are in, then you get deeper into that.
Got it. Anything else that you'd want to add in terms of best practices in book closure or on receivables management? that we might
See,
not?
most of the things about book closure and accuracy of book closures is there you need to have certain processes. You need to follow them and you need to be proactive in following them.
Mhm.
You need not wait till the last moment. And then you need to take people along to provide you the right information. Without different departments providing their information or closing their this thing, what happens is that in commercial department doesn't report to accounts department, even if it may report to the CFO. So the commercial department has issued certain purchase orders lists, but most of say 10% of that may be should have been closed because now that requirement is not there. So if it is not closed, the liability is still there, and from the system the account guy is taking that this liability is there. So you need to get to see the commercial people, ask them to close the purchase orders not required. I'm giving you an example.
Right.
So that the accuracy of that thing that you have issued a PO, so your liability is there. परचेज ऑर्डर आपने दे दिया तो आपकी लायबिलिटी बन गई ना, तो अगर नहीं है वो क्लोज करना पड़ेगा आपको परचेज। राइट,
Right. Got it.
you
Yeah, makes sense. So I think on that note, we come to the close of this very insightful session. I hope we were able to answer the audience's questions. But if there are some which were left unanswered due to time constraint, please write to us at cmssupport@kredx.com and we will make sure that you get a response. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each participant who signed in today. A very special thanks to our distinguished speaker, Mr. Raghupati Mishra, who graciously shared his unmatched experience and expertise with us today. Thank you once again all for being a part of this knowledge session by KredX. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Deva. Thank you, participants. Nice to interact. Thank you.